of the research agenda that we followed from 2015 on. The Cardano project sought to really deeply investigate how to make proof of stake practical and work well for everybody. So really this required us to take a look at the entire science of proof of stake, the entire science of consensus protocols for our industry. And what we needed to do was come up with a practical solution that would allow us to gradually scale as we gained users. So as the system got more decentralized, the system would perform at the same rate, or it would get faster like BitTorrent does. So this was an extraordinary ask because there were so many other considerations: adaptive security, semi-synchrony. We wanted fast finality. We wanted the ability to bootstrap from Genesis without having a checkpoint. We wanted to decouple the clock. We wanted to be able to recover from spikes of dishonest majority. And also we needed to build a delegation system. We needed to build a stake pool system. And then we needed a productive way of orchestrating, curating all of that, including building a brand new way of handling networking for our entire industry. So this together was a colossal task. And it's something that has consumed now 5 years of research by a team of more than 24 scientists and engineers working basically full time since we started it. And it has resulted in over 1,000 citations and basically a whole corpus of knowledge, enough to write a monograph. The capstone of this entire research agenda is Ouroboros Hydra. And we finished the initial build of that paper in November. We submitted the conference build February 15th to Usenix, and we have submitted it, and it has now today been posted on ePrint, meaning for the first time ever, and it's in the link of this tweet, the Hydra paper is publicly accessible. It's really a marvel of engineering. It's an isomorphic state channel paper, so it's a layer 2 solution that can sit gracefully on top of the Cardano protocol and accelerate it. And it's something that fits very nicely with our stake pool model. Simulations show that each Hydra head can perform at the moment around 1,000 transactions per second, and there's a lot of room for optimization of that. Furthermore, we have a lot of evidence to show that as we add heads to the protocol, we should get reasonable scaling, meaning that it's around linear scaling. Obviously, you can't get perfect linear scaling due to a lot of overhead and things like that, but it's close to linear is our belief. And this model fits extremely well with the extended UTXO model because we have natural ways to shard the stake space without sharding the ledger itself. So what this effectively means is that if stake pools were to create heads, each stake pool, for example, could have a head, then as we add more stake pools, we get more heads, and the performance will scale up. So for example, if you have 1,000 TPS and 1,000 heads, you could be looking at a maximum theoretical performance of 1 million transactions per second. And these heads could do things, for example, like fast finality. So things can clear instantly, just like they do in a traditional BFT protocol. And these heads allow for microtransactions, micro payments, so micro tipping, small things like that. In addition, we get to benefit from years of research in state channels and payment channels for routing and interoperability. So we're super excited to bring this paper to market. It's actually the first interdisciplinary paper where we had network people, MPC people, programming language people, and consensus people working together to figure out the theory. And we're so excited that the smart contracts that can run on the base layer, we have shown are isomorphic with what can run in the state channels, meaning that if you have a Plutus smart contract in our model, it's going to be able to run in that head one for one. This is not a trivial thing to show, and it's not a trivial thing to do, but it's super exciting to show that that's indeed possible. So there's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done, and there's some prototyping and implementation that needs to be done. But what is most exciting about this is that it can be implemented in parallel with all of our work on Shelley, Goguen, and Voltaire. You see, because this is a solution that plugs on top of our model, probably adopted first by the stake pools, we can have an independent team similar to the team that we have with the incentivized testnet and other things to work exclusively on this Basho side scaling. So that's super exciting. Second, this solution is complementary to ledger-based sharding solutions that we're seeing in industry. So the plan for the main team will be to implement all of the Shelley and Goguen features and contend each stake pool, for example, can run heads, and each of those heads can add an extra potentially up to 1,000 TPS in the current design, according to simulations you'll see in the paper. And then basically, as you add heads, you get more performance. And so when you look at the dynamics of a system like this, we're Visa scale at the base ledger and comparable with our fastest competitor, Ripple. And then at the head level, we can scale to a global system that is very natural and easy to shard. And those heads can also be used for interoperability with other networks like the Bitcoin network, the Lightning network, and so forth. And it'll be very easy for us to eventually layer a payment system on top, as well as a decentralized exchange mechanism on top of that. So to get to this capstone where we saw our language group be able to prove nice isomorphic properties, to see our extended UTXO model demonstrate that we can successfully shard that space, and it's easy for us to segregate these things, to see the theory of consensus and the theory of Ouroboros mature to a point where we have comparable properties with Bitcoin, from recovering from dishonest majority to bootstrapping from Genesis to operating in a semi-synchronous environment to adaptive security. This is really a major scientific milestone for the industry as a whole. And so we're incredibly proud to publish this paper. It's really a bittersweet moment because the first research line, that whole 5 years of effort, is starting to kind of come to an end. There's not much more to publish there. There's certainly a lot more to optimize. There's harder problems to work on moving forward. But basically, we solved the problems we set out to solve for Cardano, to make Cardano truly a scalable system and to bring Cardano into the future. And now the hard task of translating that science into real code and bringing that into the system has begun. The lucky part is that there's an enormous amount of body of work that has been done thanks to Lightning and thanks to state channel research that allows us to bring these solutions in rapidly. And we won't start from zero in that respect. And also, we can now engage a parallel team to start that implementation work in tandem with the Shelley and Goguen work. One of these things pull together, Cardano truly will be the fastest system in the world, and also contain all the capabilities of our competitors, from fast finality to micropayment friendly to easy interoperability and other such things. So thank you all for your patience in waiting for this paper to come out. It was very difficult for us to translate the one we submitted to conference to the one that we submitted on ePrint, because I believe the page limit was 18 pages for the conference submission, and this paper came in at 55. So it was a very significant editing process to get the paper to where it needed to go to be publicly accessible. But now it's finally in your hands, the consumer. So do read it, do play around with it, and do let us know what you guys think about it. And the product manager who will begin regularly updating you guys in short order is Rob Cohen. So after we finish some remaining work on the launch of Shelley and cleaning up the Shelley node, Rob is going to fork off, and he will work full-time with a full implementation team specifically on building Hydra and bringing Hydra in. And you will see monthly updates from Rob as you see the monthly updates from Aparna and Nick and the other product managers in the queue. So that's a first-class citizen, along with Voltaire and Goguen and the rest of the gang. So look for that in the coming months. And thank you all so much for playing around with it. And we look forward, and we're super excited to adding this as another value proposition and revenue generator for stake pool operators. And we look really excited to adding this solution in for accelerating Cardano and taking us to the next generation and the next level. This is the dawn of the Basho era in this respect. And it's nice to see the light at the end of the tunnel for the entire roadmap. So let me know what you guys think about the paper, and happy reading. Cheers.
So happy International Women's Day. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience in the industry so far. I have to say, women have come a long way in the STEM disciplines as well. The STEM means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And yeah, we do have a long way to go. I look around and there aren't as many women as there should be. But for the Cardano Foundation, for example, we're an entity that really empowers women. We want to hire more women, and women have an opportunity at any level to join us. Same with all of our other technology partners. We're also able to now train women in blockchain technology, as we've done in Ethiopia. We trained over 21 women. We had over 300 applications, and we trained over 21 women in Haskell development. And these women now have the skills to build whatever they want. They can essentially just build their own future. So we can focus on the negative and say there aren't enough women, but I really truly think that we're here. We're making a difference. It's very apparent all over the world, and it's important for men too to help raise us up as well and support us any way they can. So women helping other women is key. Men helping women is key. We all have to help each other and empower each other to be better. We have to share our stories. The more female leaders we see out there, the more women are going to be inspired. People like Marissa Myers. It's so great to see women in technology succeed. And it's really exciting to see a lot of really smart women, specifically in blockchain, come to positions of power and actually lead from the top. So technology used to be a very male-driven sort of discipline. But because blockchain represents so many different facets, it's so diverse, embedded within it is the almost mandate to have female voices and women's voices heard and women's contributions to the advancement of the technology. It's baked right into the DNA of blockchain technology.
Hi, everybody. This is Charles Hoskinson, broadcasting live from warm, sunny, corona-filled Colorado. It is March 9th, and I just returned yesterday from London after our wonderful PwC workshop, and we've all been greeted by the prospects of a global depression coming, or the potential thereof. And so I figured I'd make a movie to kind of, a video to kind of dissect a little bit of what this means for our industry as a whole. You know, it's easy when there's blood in the streets and panic to panic yourselves and say, well, oh God, does this mean everything's coming to an end? But really, what we are looking at right now is the unraveling of the economic order of the 20th century. You know, the reality is that we built a global economy through a series of treaties, agreements, wars, winners and losers, that had certain assumptions about how power should work, how money should work, how credit should work, how finance should work, how information needs to flow. And this economy was sustainable and stable when information was not instantaneous and when it was totally acceptable to have empires, meaning one or two nation states being supreme above all others and establishing all the rules and regulations. Furthermore, this economy had no ability to deal with rapid social change and no ability to deal with rapid technological change. And what's happened is every single time we've seen rapid social change and rapid technological change, the banking system of the 20th century said, oh, well, we'll just solve the problem with cheap credit. We'll print lots of money. We'll go ahead and just keep this unlimited credit culture, and we'll live in a world of increasing debt. For example, right at the turn of the 20th to the 21st century, the national debt of the United States was about $4.5 trillion, with a surplus. At the beginning of 2020, the national debt was well beyond $20 trillion, with no end in sight, a five-fold increase in less than 20 years, which is a truly remarkable thing. And that was just on the US side. And everybody was always living for something to come to save us. Japan, for example, the Olympics, it'll come and save us. And then what do we see? We see a global pandemic come and tourism will not occur. What does it mean? The boom that Japan is looking for 2020 won't happen. And they will continue to watch their debt to GDP get worse and worse, and they're going to continue to watch their economy stagnate. The same for China, the same for South Korea. We look at Italy. 16 million people are potentially going to be under quarantine. Do you think that at the end of all of that, that those people are going to wake up and say, we love our government, we trust it? No, they're probably going to put a populist government in, and we'll probably see an Italian version of Brexit come. And can the European Union survive if Italy leaves? Perhaps France next? Maybe, maybe not. All of this, the markets, the world order, you are seeing a lack of fundamental integrity. It has the potential in this century to end humanity. Nothing is being done about it. For the last 10 years, epidemiologists have been saying time and again that a global pandemic could kill 200 million people and collapse the global economy. It was one of the least and last priorities of the world order. And now we are facing potentially this prospect. Where are they? We can't even agree on basic things like who to test, how to test, when to test, or coordinating relief efforts. So there's a global skepticism that the institutions we have are not going to succeed in the 21st century. So what is the point of our industry? Our industry, the cryptocurrency industry, has nothing to do with fast returns or dealing with volatility or the price of Bitcoin. It has everything to do with a global conversation about changing the way we do things, not just in institutions, whether we should put power in one or the other, about removing the need overall from institutions. We no longer need central authority. We no longer need presidents, kings, governors, leaders, CEOs to get things done. This whole movement is about trust and consent and immutable rules that don't care about the daily news, don't care if there's a plague, don't care if there's a problem or a war or an earthquake. They behave the same way, just like the laws of physics behave. Much safer for us to build things on. And the whole point is these systems are Darwinian and effective only when they've been put under pressure, which is exactly what's happening today. You see, there's going to be many winners and losers in our industry. There's over 3,000 cryptocurrencies. But all of us collectively in this industry know one thing, that over the next 5 years, whoever wins will be a significantly more competitive, better product that does more for everyone, has more utility for everyone than all the other ones who lose. This is not the case with the money system of the 20th century. This is not the case for the social systems of the 20th century. There are so many that were created that are suboptimal, predatory, highly centralized, highly unfair, right with inequality and a lack of inclusiveness, but exist because of either random chance or that, well, somebody got lucky. Our industry is the polar opposite. Everything we do, every action we take, every innovation we make is accessible to everyone. And to compete with each other, we mutually must adopt concepts like private computation, useful proof of work, inclusive accountability, high throughput proof of stake. All of these amazing innovations on the layer 2 side, they're all open source. The ones that matter and the ones that don't will die. And within 5 years, these systems will be globally available to billions of people, built into consumer products, cell phones, operating systems, into the browser. The fastest growing browser right now is one that's built on the foundations of a cryptocurrency, Brave. And we can wake up within 5 years and see more usage for that than Google Chrome has. The fastest growing social systems we have are on the cryptocurrency side. And the other thing is, this is where you are in control. You own your own bank. Should a global pandemic upend and push us into a depression, do you think people are going to want to live in a financial system where their bank accounts can be shut down at any time, where they're told that there are limits on how much money they can withdraw every single day, where they can send money, who they can send money to? Do you think that they're going to accept systems like that? Systems that exist to preserve the power of the few? Or do you think they want to live in a world where the value that they have can be moved anywhere, anytime to anyone, and they can take it with them? The same for their identity and their privacy. Our institutions have and continue to fail us. And this market correction is just another example of the market saying that explicitly and outright. In my own country, the United States of America, the response could have been bipartisan and simple. Our president and the opposition party could have set their petty rivalries aside and said, it's for the good of our people, we should work together. Instead, what did they do? They looked at it like a game of political football. And they said, hey, let's go ahead and see who can score the most points. A recession is bad for the incumbent president, so let's just make sure that that happens regardless. And meanwhile, the other side, and it just shows you the lack of integrity the system has as a whole. And the end result will not be one side winning or the other side winning. It will be that the system has to be replaced with a better system. So my plea to everybody in our industry is to calm down and relax and do not succumb to fear, but understand that we are standing at the arc of history at the moment, and understand that we as an industry are collectively, despite our differences, working on the same problem. The problem of how do we build a society without kings or presidents or leaders, a problem of how do we build a society that gets rid of the middlemen, a problem of how do we build a society that is as fair for the least amongst us as it is for the most amongst us. This is the reason we're all here. This is the reason why we have resilience and durability. The markets are panicking that they collapse 10% here, 20% here. We in the crypto space have seen collapses of 90%, yet we still show up for work every single day. We still fight hard every single day. And we still remember who we are and why we signed up. And today I'm just as passionate as I was when Bitcoin was worthless. And tomorrow I will be, and the day afterwards, and we will find a way to win. So as tragic as these things can be, and the fact that we are entering hard times and the economy is looking perilous, always remember that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that we will reach a point where things change. The nature of identity, the nature of property, the way you vote, the way you give consent, how you hold your wealth and how you transform your wealth, the rewards you get from the merits you have, the people you have relationships with, trust, the movement of medical data, all of these things in the next 25 years will change to a new form that is fair for everybody. This is the reason we're here. This is why I'm here. This is why my company exists. This is why Cardano exists. And frankly, this is why EOS exists and Tezos exists and Bitcoin exists and all these other things. We disagree about conduct. We disagree about particular ways of executing and how these protocols need to be structured. But not for a moment do I doubt that my competitors and this industry as a whole is philosophically aligned about killing the middleman and building a better world for everybody. So hang in there. Don't succumb to fear and panic, and realize that the fundamentals of our industry are far more sound than the fundamentals of the legacy system we intend on replacing. And as bad as things can be, they could be worse. We could emerge from all of this no wiser, no more capable, and still chained to the old sins of the past. Thank you so much for listening, and hang in there. Cheers.